we're going to get in here, and this one is about how to get paid. Okay, so this is one of the most frustrating things in our industry, where you do a job and the client, maybe they're slow, maybe they're maybe they're just in the mood to not pay, or maybe they feel like something was a little wrong. Whatever the reason, it doesn't really concern us, but what concerns us is we want to go ahead and do our best to get that money. All right. I want to just mention at the start here, this is one of the most frustrating things in our business. I feel it's really very difficult to deal with. It sort of takes more of a toll on you than it should. And so the first thing I'm going to say is, those of you who clicked on this video might be kind of like, well, you're not telling me how to get paid. But get paid before the shoot. This is sort of preemptive work, right? You're gonna it's kind of like doing oil changes with your car. You're just gonna get out in front of it. So get paid before you get to the shoot or at the shoot. Whatever system you have to get in place, I think that's the best way to go. You want to get the money as soon as possible. If you can get it even at booking, I think that's even better. But I never did that, but I think that's a really good idea to go ahead and try and set up a system. But definitely before you deliver the files, because at that moment where you deliver the files, there's sort of a big shift right there and change in the leverage and everything. If you've delivered the files and you haven't gotten paid yet, that's a big shift in sort of the power and the leverage and negotiations and everything. Okay, so I would try and get paid in all instances before you've delivered the files. Now, having said that, I do have a few clients who I know I work with a lot, and I know how they're going to pay. I know they're going to pay for sure. So you can decide that yourself. So I have sort of a hybrid system. But let's get in here and tackle what this video is really about, how to get paid when you just have one of these really tough clients, or maybe they're just, whatever it happens to be, maybe they're busy, maybe they really are having family problems or whatever, and they're just not, they're just not on the ball right then. So the first thing I'd say is give them the benefit of the doubt. Even if it's totally obvious, just be in the frame of mind like, it could, maybe this guy's getting a divorce, whatever, just give him that. I'd say give him or her that. Maybe they're in the middle of losing their house, or maybe their child is sick or something. I would say just assume that. I mean, you don't have to assume his child has cancer, but I'm just saying assume the worst for them. And in other words, you don't want to go in thinking they just won't pay me. That's going to put you in the wrong frame of mind. So I think it's really good in business, especially formal relationships. You just give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he hasn't said anything to me, but maybe his kid is having trouble with getting in fights at school, whatever it happens to be. This stuff goes on in people's lives, right? So you have to assume that could possibly be something like that. Okay, so the first thing I'd say, though, after you've sort of gotten them in that good mind frame and you're not blaming them and sort of angry at them before you even get in there and try to tackle this, is call them. You've obviously probably already emailed them or texted them. That goes without saying. That's step one. But the first step is call them. And I think that sort of personal interaction, now you're actually speaking to a human being, I think that goes a long way, especially, like I said, if you have the right attitude and you're not already angry at them. That's what's gonna make this situation get worse. If you call them and you're in this mind frame like you're getting back at them, you got to tell them how mad you are. That's not going to work. That's going to push somebody the opposite way. So make sure you get in the right mind frame before you call. But definitely call, because that's the easiest way. We've already earned our money. So what we want to do, we want to maximize our return on investment, and a call is a really easy way to just take a few minutes out of our day, and it's going to be really effective, though. All right, it's going to be very effective in the long run. I think you're going to probably solve about 75% of these non-payers just by calling them and having a nice, calm, rational conversation. All right. Obviously, that's not always going to work. We all know that. So step number 2 here I have, and a couple of these can be swapped, these steps, and I'll go over that when I get to them. But now you're going to reach some point where like he knows and you're being jerked around, right? And I think that's true in most situations like this. You can only give so many excuses, so at some point, it's going to be 100% sure in your mind. Like, say you've texted him 5 times and then you've called him. You're going to be pretty much 100% sure, well, he's just not paying at this point. So he's sure and you're sure. And the reason I think this is an important distinction is because the next step I have is to contact their broker. And I don't even think you have to sort of get in there and threaten that to him, because it's already been established. That's why I was saying earlier, it's already been established that he's sort of jerking you around. Okay, you've pretty much established that 100% in your mind. So once you've reached that threshold, wherever it happens to be, maybe 5 texts and a phone call, once you've established that, maybe you can text him one more time after the phone call just to give a little gentle reminder, but don't even warn him about the contacting the broker. And you guys might want to take your own style on this. Maybe you do want to warn him, well, I'm going to have to contact a broker. I don't think that would be the worst step to take, okay? So, but the main point here is contact the broker, get in contact with the broker, okay? So brokers don't get where they are by being unprofessional and sort of sloughing people off, especially in a case like this, because this involves copyright and this could land them in a court potentially. So brokers aren't stupid. They're not going around taking chances like this. This is a copyright violation. This could screw up their entire business, okay? So it could really put a bad light on their business. Who knows? It could even shut them down if they got enough of them. So brokers aren't going to be they're going to be responsible when it comes to this. So I'm betting this is going to solve 98 and maybe even more cases with you if you contact a broker and you just professionally, once again, you just corroborate with him or her as if everything's cool, everything's going well, but you're just having this one little problem with one of the clients. And what's going to happen is they're going to reach out soon to that broker that you're having, that real estate agent that you're having trouble with. And that's a big thing. Like, you see how things, the dominoes are starting to fall now. The walls are caving in. The broker knows now, and it could cause problems with the brokerage, the entire brokerage. So when your client starts to realize that you might even want to gently word that in a way in one of your texts, like, this is a really precarious situation because it could even have implications for your entire brokerage that you're violating my copyright. So we want to get this cleared up. Just again, always stay sort of professional, and when you do make a little threat like the brokerage could be under copyright violation here, you want to do it in a really polite and sort of a polite way, but you just want to give them those little hints, those little warnings. Yeah, this could involve your entire brokerage, so we don't want to have anything like that. Constantly mention that this isn't what you want, right? And we're going to talk about that more later. Okay, so contacting the broker, that's going to get you out. I'm telling you, that's going to get you out. You might have to contact him or her a few times and just be in a corroboration with her a little bit to get what you need out of that real estate agent. But that's going to solve the problem for you most of the time. But you're still going to have problems, right? Even after this. I would say one last point I have to make about the broker is I think it's always good when you're dealing with people, especially when there's sort of a loss of pride like this, give them a way out, okay? Always give them a way out. And what that means is it's like you don't want to, if you're fighting in a war, you don't want to have somebody with their back against the wall and there's no way out for them. So you want to give them a little way out with their pride. So in other words, when you're talking to the broker, maybe at this point, the realtor is CC'd on the emails or whatever, you can say, I understand things get really hectic. I get behind on my, bills all the time. I understand. Give them a way out. You might want to say something like, this would be great to clear this up and just move forward with just that everything's going to be normal after this. The truth is, because I feel like what happens is this client's going to feel shame and they're never going to want to see you again. So just do your best to, because they're going to feel that shame, and that's normal. So just do your best to make sure everyone knows that going forward, everything's going to be fine, unless you really don't want to work with them again, and then it's different. But I'd still say to mention, just give them that little mental way out. Like, I realize everyone gets busy. It happens to me all the time, get too busy or whatever it is. You're sort of making an excuse for them, okay? All right, I did this one time, and this actually I did before contacting the broker once, and it worked for me. But I think I would do the broker first. That's what I've done anyway. But the next one, I have step number 3. So it was contact the broker. And then the third one is file a DMCA takedown. And I've never filed one of these, so that's not what this step is. Don't just go in there and file it. Okay, don't do that. Just threaten. And remember, it's important to sort of threaten it in a way that you're in an unassuming way. So, for example, if I don't get payment by January 7th, I'm going to be forced to do a DMCA takedown, file a DMCA takedown, and this is true too. You're actually saying the truth. You can politely say in that email, that could put the listing in jeopardy of being taken down, and nobody wants that. Make sure you mention this little stuff. It softens the blow, and it's better for people's pride and ego. Okay, so nobody wants to be threatened. The listing is going to be taken down if you don't do. Nobody's going to respond to that. Okay, so you want to get what you want. You got to be polite about things. So you say you're going to file a DMCA takedown, and it's possible that the listing could be taken down. And what's going through their mind at this point? What's going through their mind is the homeowner, their client, is going to see their listing disappear from Zillow, from whatever, everything, okay? And that would be a nightmare for everyone. So, and you can, this is sort of an offshoot, but you can get in there and go ahead and contact Zillow and all those places, the MLS, and there's stuff online about how to file a DMCA takedown, okay? So that was step 3, and I've actually gotten to these next couple steps at one time, okay? So I got to these steps one time. My next step is I was having one client. I had more problems than I've ever had, and it just got to the point where I didn't know what to do. I was ready to write it off, and what happened was, I think I contacted my friend, and then he gave me some advice, and I went ahead and did this advice. So he just said to me, go ahead and call him right now and ask him where he's at. And so I hung out with my friend. I called the guy, and I was just polite. Once again, you always got to get in that frame of mind. Now remember, I'm calling the guy who owes me money, and I've actually went through a lot of steps. I've even talked to the broker, okay, and it was still, everything was going crazy. The broker, for whatever reason, wasn't taking care of it, which really surprised me. But anyway, I called him and I just asked him where he was, and he said, I'm at a certain restaurant. And I knew where it was, and I knew everything. So I just said, I'm gonna drop everything and I'm gonna drive over there. And I told him that. I said, hang out. I'm gonna come to you right now, okay? And it ended up working. I met him at the restaurant, and it was cool. Nothing happened, and he actually made a checkout for me and paid me right there. Okay, so that might do it. That might do it for you guys. I don't know what else to say. Just call him and say, I'd like to meet up right now. Maybe that's my fourth or my fifth, okay? My fourth way to do it. Just that face-to-face interaction right there. And I'd also say, maybe even before this step, these are just ideas, maybe you might want to go in and talk to the broker, right? Go in personally, talk to the broker. I didn't do that in this situation. I called him and talked to him before I got to that step, all right? So that might have been something I left out when I was talking about the broker step. You can go in and talk to the broker personally. I think that's good. After you've called them, if things aren't still working out, go and talk to them face to face, okay? And this might be a weird little step, but a weird little sort of way to get things done, but hopefully everyone out there has one or two good friends. I didn't do this in this case, but I actually thought about, I have one friend. He's not a big tough guy or anything, nothing like that, but I had one friend, and I could call him and I could have him call this agent, which isn't the most kosher thing, and I could just instruct him, look, have the guy just politely tell the guy, you're a friend of mine, and he's been really distraught, and he really just have him say whatever he thinks is good. That's what I was gonna do. And I think what that does is it goes over that ego thing. He's dealing with somebody else now. I think that's a reason these tend to get lengthened out and never end is because they don't want to see you, because there's a pride thing there, especially if you're like Asian cultures. I know where I'm living right now, if there's a pride issue involved, it's really difficult to finally solve that, because there's going to be a certain amount of, sort of pride, the fact that they haven't paid. They're going to feel shame for that. So it's hard for them to face you. So that's why I say getting a friend to sort of do the interaction for you might really help. It might just put him in a completely different frame of mind. You might lose the client, but he might pay, right? Because he doesn't really have to deal with you, but he'd like to pay. A lot of times when these cases go on, these people might want to pay, but it's just awkward sort of getting in touch with you because they feel that shame. Okay, so that's why I mentioned this step. Go ahead and try and get one of your friends to collect. All right, and I'm at the last step now, and this we already mentioned this, but nothing's working. Absolutely nothing is working. Zero. And what do I have? Walk in and speak to the broker. Okay, so some of these steps, if you hopefully come back and reference this video one day, some of these steps can be maybe swapped up and down, and you can go ahead and think about which way would be best for you. But walk in and personally speak to the broker. And I would even say give them the impression that you do not want to leave until this sort of gets cleared up, because you took time out of your day. But don't be threatening or anything like that. That's been a big theme with all this, right? Just don't get in this frame of mind. No matter how bad it gets, I think I would forget the payment before I got mad and tried to threaten people in a threatening way. So you don't ever want, if you're at that point, I'd say it's probably worth it to just forget it, right? Because you're in a brokerage, you're getting mad, you're making a scene. I mean, come on, you really think that's going to be good for your business? Okay, so I dropped the whole situation before I did that. And the last thing is, I'm not even going to touch on this because it's more, but take them to court, right? Something like that. But I'm not even going to go into that. I think if you've done everything I've said and you haven't gotten paid, so you're just going to have to, figure out what you want to do from there, whether it's forget it or what. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I think that'll solve it for you in almost every case. So let's just review it a little bit. Get paid before you deliver the photos. That's going to solve it for you right there for the most part. And then after that, call them. Always stay sort of polite and respectful with them. And then if it comes down to it and you get to that last step, go ahead and go in there and talk to the broker face to face. Make sure you sort of demand some time with them because you took time out of their day. Maybe you have to wait or something, but I think it's good to walk in and talk to people. I think people really sort of, when people are face to face with you, the way things work nowadays is, it's just, you get what you want a lot more because you're right there face to face. Okay, that's why, of course, the marketing face to face works a lot better too. All right, so I'll go ahead and put my glasses on. We're pretty much wrapping up here, but let me just go through some of the comments. Logan, hello Logan. Yeah, I tried to get the timer up for Logan. I put that timer up on the first one. Oh, so somebody's saying they still have invoices for the broker, like for the actual broker. I never thought about that. If the broker is actually your client, because I've had brokers as clients before, but I've never had them not pay. So I don't know what to tell you. Let me see. I might do that step where I have my friend go talk to her. I'm telling you, that's a good one. That's better than you think. Yeah, pride kills negotiations. It's really tough for people to, even if they want to give in to you and want to pay you, their pride is telling them not to, right? So that'll kill you. That'll kill a negotiation. You can't beat pride, somebody's pride. People take that stuff very seriously. It's their family. It's representing everything that they're about. So, it's hard. You got to find ways to deal with that and yet give them an out. And try and make sure that you're making it known that nobody else really knows about this. You don't want anybody to, this is a private thing between you. I think that makes it an easier out for them. I'm trying to read these, but I don't. Yeah, I agree. I didn't want to. I thought people may leave a comment about no reason. If I agree with not going to court, I thought people might not like me saying that, so I just sort of strayed away from it at the end. I just think that's a personal choice, but you got to figure the job is going to be under $500. So how can you possibly entertain going to court? Some of you might just want to do it on pure principle, though. Anyway, yeah, so so that'll do it. I was just reading through the comments there, so I was sort of spacing out. Yeah, I hope that helps some of you guys out there, and I hope this helps some of you that weren't joining live but came in after the fact. I know this is one of the toughest things, and it's so hard to deal with, and it puts so much pressure on you. That's why one of the only things I didn't mention, you might even want to, if you're really very extremely business savvy, I might even recommend sort of at the start of all this, like after you've called them and done a couple other things, maybe you might even want to think about bailing out, because how much is your time worth? I know I have a number on how much my time is worth, and if I start pushing and pushing into that, the shoot's gonna disappear anyway. Like I had to go meet that guy. I think I drove about 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back when I met my guy, but I just wanted to get that off of my conscience. I hated it. So you're gonna have to think of that maybe sometimes at the beginning. Am I gonna just drop this maybe because my time is more important than this? All right, so that's another consideration you might want to take early on, because when you can't really do that later because you're invested in it. You're sort of, you put so much time into this now. Maybe you've put $400 of your time into collecting a $200 shoot, correct? So you just want to get to the finish line, and at least you're gonna only lose that, say, $200 or $300 because you put so much of your time. You want to get that little bit of return back. So yeah, all right, I thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. I put that timer up this time, so it seems like that helped a little bit. I like that, so I'll probably try and do that for the next ones. All right, guys, thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you for the next one.